If you ever find yourself like drowning or getting pulled into the social game too far and like your own circumstance and like comparative thought and lack, it's just simply placing yourself on a ladder and comparing it to some other's imagined experience or circumstance. If you ever, which is all false and like illusory, and if you ever, and I get it, like I get pulled into that all the time, but if you ever get pulled too far or too far into that illusion and game, a good thing to remember is it's all, everything you see, every experience, everything you are perceiving, it's all just a shape that is all cut from the cloth. And the cloth is all that is and ever will be. And it just is. It didn't come from anywhere. There's just the cloth. You can't have nothing. You can't have something come from nothing with no possibility of anything. So it's just been here. And obviously we can't get our heads around that. But it's just, everything is just a wrinkle in this cloth. And it's a flowing, golden, luminous cloth. And everything is just a wrinkle in it or a shape cut from it. Whatever, folks, whatever metaphor is resonating with you. They're kind of different metaphors, I guess, but you get it. And so it's all cloth. We're all cloth. Everything we see is cloth. And we're just a little temporary wrinkle in that. And it's a unique wrinkle. And all folks, kind of like the snowflake deal. No two wrinkles are ever the same. And no two shapes cut out of this cloth are ever the same, perhaps. And so there's no whatever. Don't drown. Folks, I don't want you to drown. I don't want me to drown. Folks, no one should be drowning. Drowning stories are quite horrific. I would not. We won't go there. It's kind of negative. This is optimistic content, folks. But that's the thing, and that's an idea. And I don't know if that's like a metaphor someone's used before, probably. Folks, everything's a remix. But it's a way I've come to think about it. Because that's fundamentally true. Whatever, and from there you can get into debating more semantics and traditions and spiritual traditions, religious traditions, science. Science is important, right, folks? Scientific traditions. But anything from there always comes back to this fundamental, that's like a deep truth of whatever interpretation you're going to start making beyond that of this place and of this experience. At its core, that's all we can ever know for sure, is that it is an experience and it all just is, and it's all cut from the cloth, however you want to try to explain that cloth. Some people want to explain. Some people do think there's a possibility of nothing, or they just kick the can down the road and they explain. Their explanation and belief is in a big bang that created the cloth. And before some certain specific number of years ago when that happened, we don't know what anything was. There's probably nothing or something else. And that one gets a little dicey for me because I can't quite follow that logic of the cloth just exploding from nothing and it being like a physical cloth, I guess. I'm pretty skeptical and pretty logical and like scientifically minded, I would like to think. So for me, it makes a lot more sense currently, like just the cloth. It just is, and we're part of it. Like the cloth is just eternal awareness, because then you don't have any logical fallacies. If you try to if you think the cloth is anything except an eternal state of awareness, then you get all kinds of like burdens of proof and like logical fallacies that pop up, because anytime you're going to say something came from whatever state caused this or whatever, then you get just like an illogical, or the whole fallacy of like the backwards causation of, okay, if you're going to enter that explanation, then you can never explain the original thing, because then what caused that original thing, or what created that supreme being, or who pushed the button for the Big Bang, and then who pushed the button to create that button pusher. And it never makes any sense because it's not supposed to. That's all just like, that's all using our limited perception and like our experience of time and everything to like try to answer these ultimate questions, which is futile, because we have such a limited, even speaking scientifically and biologically, we have such a limited perception of this physical reality, even as the animals we are. Like, we just have adapted in our story, we just perceive what we need to for survival, and it's such a narrow range of existence. But even beyond that, if we're just talking like what could we possibly even know about everything that is, and we're part of, and we're a narrow part of temporarily here. And so that gets they kind of lose me when say like a more scientific tradition or camp. And it's great, and I love science. And folks, modern engineering and marvels all possible because of science, which is great. But the camp just kind of loses me when they make leaps to some of these ultimate things, which seems backwards and just like fundamentally the wrong place to start. And not even to start, like even attempting to explain some things through that tool of science, which is just a tool that exists within. Folks, it's just another shape cut from the cloth. And it's just a way of trying to map things we perceive on the cloth. And science is great for that. And we can predict when a wrinkle might appear where through science. And we can manufacture many wrinkles that help us do certain things we want to do in this experience. But whatever. We're losing the audience with that. We're getting kind of too far down that side of things. This video is just about, folks, just rest. Just lie down on the cloth. Because that's what you are. That's what it is. You came from the cloth, and you can never not be cloth. A lot of people want to pretend or ignore the cloth, or pretend they are not the cloth. Or like pretend the cloth is a mistake just because we assume it exploded from nothing, which explains nothing and introduces more questions than this very simple and intuitive alternative. It seems to me. So, I don't know. I'm just trying to let folks lie down on the cloth and see where the cloth, sure saying cloth a lot, which is good. This is a cloth video. Folks, this is cloth-based content. Stick around for more cloth-based content. I think the cloth will be a good recurring theme. Because it's I've found it to be like a good visual metaphor for just kind of feeling more often. Folks, developing more reverence. I don't have enough reverence. I've been trying, this is going to be alienating, I know. It's weird. But I've been going to bed a lot earlier, and waking up earlier, 4 or 5 or whatever, not crazy early. I don't know. That's not that abnormal. But like I'm not like sleeping less and like, oh, I only need 5 hours of sleep and waking up at 4 to run and all this. Folks, I'm just a normal guy. I would never I would never say things like that. But what I'm getting at is I get a lot more done in like those quiet morning hours. So I've just kind of tried to shift to wake up so I'm awake in those hours instead of the late night hours. But on the clear days, and we're getting into warmer weather now, which is awesome because it makes this easier. Just like sitting under the night sky for any length of time, 10 minutes, 30 minutes, whatever, with no objective really, but just like sitting under the sky and just absorbing it. I've found that so powerful, especially like as a way to start the day, because it just like grounds everything in this wonder and like almost this opportunity. And we'll, folks, we can get rolling on this. We'll save this for a different video. But it's just that thing of like, you're not like, I've never been great at meditating, so maybe I could get better at that. So it's not like anything specific you have to try to do or like shut down thoughts or whatever, but I just like being out there under the sky and just naturally it dissolves a lot of like the narrowness you start to feel as the day goes, and like you kind of feel trapped like where you currently are, or like you just get pulled into these things that like build even your apartment or your office or like where you are just like feels like you're trapped by those four walls. But if everything's kind of grounded in this more just like, what is this? Where am I every day? Or as much as possible. That just has felt very good to have that and have as many minutes or hours of that in my week as I can, because it's weird. It's like you don't feel like small inside of your walls. Like when you come back inside from that, it's like, it's hard to explain. It's like your little apartment or place or office or whatever. You just like feel it as like open and like there is no ceiling, and like, yeah, you're in this little thing right now, but like you almost see through the walls then, and like, okay, this is just a thing inside of this insane, unexplainable thing, and not like this is my world and like everything I'm doing here is consequential and limited and like whatever. Again, that's probably for a different video. We'll tighten up that feeling or argument, but yeah, I don't know. That's just something, a cool way I've found to look at it, folks. Just shapes cut from the cloth, which is cool because it's all just a cloth, and the cloth knows, and the cloth is, I don't know. We can't, folks, here's the other thing about cloths. The wisdom teachings tell us you can't even talk about the cloth. So I've probably said cloth way too much. Any language, these are all just pointers. Any language is ultimately futile in understanding or describing the grandeur of the cloth. So yeah, maybe we should shut up. We'll shut up for now about the cloth. Probably just going to start running in circles, but that's just something I've found cool or helpful. So wanted to jabber about it for a bit by the fire, which is still roaring. Funny enough, weird, you never really have to add anything to this fire. It just kind of goes. We can add that. That might help. That might help keep it going. All right. We'll see you next time.